The Formula One grid thought they understood the financial cost cap. They thought the FIA's aerodynamic testing restrictions had completely locked down every avenue of unfair competitive advantage. Then Toyota Gazoo Racing partnered with the Haas F1 team and brought an old Formula One car to Fuji Speedway. On paper, it was packaged as a harmless driver development test. In reality, Toyota just executed one of the most sophisticated regulatory exploits in modern motorsport history. By running a testing of previous cars program on a private Toyota-owned circuit, they bypassed the FIA's strict operational audits, unlocked unlimited real-world hardware telemetry, and established a data pipeline that no rival team can legally trace. This is not just about giving Japanese drivers seat time in an F1 car. This is about how a massive automotive manufacturer found a backdoor into Formula One's engineering engine room without triggering a single dollar of cost cap penalty or a single minute of wind tunnel deduction. If you want to understand how regulatory gray areas are transformed into pure lap time, subscribe right now. Before we break down the telemetry loop, hit the comments and tell me, do you believe private circuit testing under the TPC umbrella gives supplier-backed teams an unfair advantage over independent constructors? Let's map out exactly how Toyota pulled this off. To understand why the Fuji track test is such a massive tactical exploit, you first have to look at how Formula One restricts testing. Under standard FIA sporting regulations, active Formula One cars are practically banned from private track running. Preseason testing is restricted to just a handful of days. CFD simulation time and wind tunnel occupancy are strictly rationed, based on where a team finishes in the Constructors' Championship. The lower you finish, the more tunnel time you get. The higher you rank, the more the FIA restricts your development tools. For a small team like Haas, operating under these constraints was always a losing battle. They lacked the massive infrastructure of Ferrari, Mercedes, or Red Bull. They did not own a dedicated testing facility, nor did they have the capital to fund a full-time dedicated test team. Enter Toyota Gazoo Racing. When Toyota announced its technical partnership with Haas, rival team principals assumed it was a standard sponsorship and technical exchange deal. They expected Toyota to provide driver development, manufacturing capacity, and simulator access in exchange for branding. What they overlooked was the precise wording of the FIA's testing of previous cars, or TPC, regulations. Under TPC rules, teams are permitted to run Formula One cars that are at least 2 years old, or, during major regulation transition periods, machinery from the previous season under specific conditions. The critical detail that every rival overlooked is that TPC testing sits almost entirely outside the FIA's strict cost cap and aerodynamic testing restrictions. The money spent running a TPC event does not count against the standard budget cap limit, provided the parts tested conform to historical specifications and the session is classified under personnel or driver evaluation. Toyota realized that while you cannot run current spec aero components on a TPC car, you can run hardware, sensors, procedural software, and physical correlation models. All they needed was a circuit where they controlled every single camera, every timing loop, and every piece of trackside telemetry equipment. They had the exact venue sitting at the base of Mount Fuji, Fuji Speedway. Pause for a second and evaluate this setup. If a team can run an F1 car for hundreds of kilometers on a private track without using up their official testing allocation, is that a clever interpretation of the rulebook or an outright breach of the spirit of the sport? Comment your take below. Fuji Speedway is not a generic neutral venue. It is owned outright by the Toyota Motor Corporation. When Haas packed up an F1 chassis and shipped it to Japan, they were not just renting a track for 2 days. They were stepping inside a closed-loop laboratory controlled entirely by Toyota Gazoo Racing engineers. At a standard Grand Prix weekend, the FIA monitors every signal broadcast from an F1 car. Every temperature sensor, pressure rake, and structural strain gauge transmits data that can be audited by FIA technical delegates. The governing body inspects garage setups, checks computer servers, and ensures that third-party partners do not funnel external engineering data into a team's current car development pipeline. At Fuji Speedway, those standard weekend auditing protocols do not apply in the same way. Because a TPC test is officially designated as an off-calendar, non-competitive evaluation session, the FIA does not station an army of technical auditors inside the pit lane. Toyota personnel, wearing Toyota Gazoo racing kit, directly integrated with the Haas trackside crew. During the Fuji test, drivers like Ryo Hirakawa and Sho Tsuboi pounded around the long main straight and complex technical sectors of the Japanese circuit. On the surface, the public saw a fan-friendly demonstration and driver shootout. Beneath the surface, the real work was happening inside the telemetry collection booths. Fuji Speedway features one of the longest straightaways in global motorsport, measuring nearly 1.5 kilometers. That straightaway is the ultimate real-world calibration tool for high-speed aerodynamic straight-line mapping, tire carcass deformation analysis, and power unit thermal management. When an F1 car travels down that straight at over 300 kilometers per hour, sensors measure exact ride height compression, floor flexibility, and drag coefficients. In a wind tunnel, air flows over a stationary or moving belt, but you never truly recreate the exact dynamic pitch, roll, and harsh physical surface impacts of a real tarmac circuit. By running an F1 car repeatedly down the Fuji Straight, Toyota engineers harvested high-resolution sensor data on physical surface ground effects dynamics. Now ask yourself where that data actually goes. The physical car running on the track was a 2-year-old Haas chassis. But the mathematical models generated by that chassis, the data describing how tires react to lateral loads, how suspension geometry responds to heavy braking, and how structural sensors measure airflow stability, are pure digital information. Digital information does not have a manufacture date. Let's stop right here for a midpoint reality check. Do you believe the FIA actually has the technological capacity to trace digital correlation models once they enter a manufacturer's private cloud network, or is the governing body fighting a battle it has already lost? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. To grasp the magnitude of the Fuji exploit, you have to look at the FIA audit blind spot. The FIA's financial and technical regulations were written to monitor physical parts, bank accounts, and factory time. They inspect structural carbon fiber, track invoice ledgers, and log wind tunnel fan usage. What the regulations struggle to track is cross-organizational software optimization and personnel skill transfer. When Toyota engineers work side by side with Haas mechanics at Fuji Speedway, they are learning the exact operational workflows of a modern F1 team. They analyze how setup adjustments alter chassis balance. They study how real-time telemetry processing software translates sensor spikes into trackside adjustments. This human capital transfer is entirely legal under the TPC rules. However, the line between training personnel and developing current car software is razor thin. Toyota operates massive advanced simulation facilities in Cologne, Germany, and across Japan. One of the greatest challenges in modern Formula One is simulator correlation. A simulator is only as good as the mathematical equations programmed into it. If your physical track data does not match your virtual model, your simulator gives you false setup directions, wasting precious development time. By running extensive TPC kilometers at Fuji Speedway, Toyota can take the exact physical telemetry recorded from the F1 car and feed it directly into their private simulation software. They calibrate their digital track maps, adjust their virtual tire degradation algorithms, and refine their structural stress models. Once those simulation algorithms are perfected, using real F1 car data gathered at Fuji, who uses the simulator? The Haas F1 team. When a Haas race driver sits in the Toyota-backed simulator to prepare for an upcoming Grand Prix, they are benefiting directly from virtual models refined during private, non-audited TPC testing at Fuji Speedway. The FIA can audit the financial statements of Haas F1. They can audit the declared hours spent in the official simulator. But the FIA cannot audit the decades of proprietary algorithm development executed deep within Toyota's independent corporate cloud infrastructure. This creates a ghost feedback loop. Track testing generates raw telemetry. Raw telemetry calibrates private simulation tools. Private simulation tools deliver hyper-accurate setup models directly to the race team. All of it is funded under the umbrella of driver development and manufacturer collaboration, neatly bypassing the cost cap. Look at the competitive landscape. Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull spend tens of millions of dollars attempting to keep their simulation correlation accurate within strict FIA budget limits. Haas, historically the smallest team on the grid, just gained access to a world-class automotive giant's private track and computing engine without taking a hit to their primary operational cap. Consider this specific strategic choice. If you were the team principal of a rival midfield constructor like Alpine or Williams, Would you immediately protest this partnership to the FIA, or would you scramble to find your own corporate automotive sponsor with a private track? Drop your prediction in the comments right now. The genius of the Fuji track hack lies in its complete compliance with the letter of the law. Toyota and Haas have not broken a single written rule. FIA regulations explicitly permit TPC testing to foster young driver development and allow teams to run operational practice. The regulations encourage commercial and technical partnerships between constructors and global automotive brands. Toyota provided the funding, the circuit, and the trackside support staff. Haas provided the 2-year-old chassis and the operational know-how. Every single engine fire-up, every lap completed by Ryo Hirakawa or Sho Tsuboi, and every set of tires consumed was executed strictly within the framework provided by the FIA. Yet, the strategic advantage is undeniable. In modern Formula One, track time is the single most valuable commodity in existence. A team can run thousands of hours of computer simulations, but nothing replaces the structural shock of rubber hitting tarmac at high velocity. By utilizing Fuji Speedway, Toyota and Haas have engineered a continuous live testing environment. While rival teams are forced to park their old cars in museums or restrict their TPC runs to occasional corporate media days due to budget limits, Haas runs structured, high-mileage track programs. They test pit-stop equipment under real thermal heat conditions. They train new mechanics to perform high-pressure component changes under live track deadlines. They evaluate young engineering talent in real-world scenarios rather than forcing them to learn on the fly during a chaotic Grand Prix Friday practice session. The operational efficiency gained from these sessions directly translates to race weekend performance. Pit stops become faster. Engineering communications become cleaner. Strategy calls become more decisive, because the personnel making those decisions have logged hundreds of hours handling a real Formula One car at Fuji Speedway. The rest of the paddock is starting to wake up to what is happening. Rivals are realizing that Toyota did not enter Formula One merely to place sticker decals on an American entry. They entered to build a modern, scalable motorsport infrastructure from the ground up, utilizing every gray area the regulations left wide open. Think about where this leaves the rest of the midfield. If team efficiency and data correlation can be outsourced to an external corporate partner's private facilities, the traditional concept of an independent F1 constructor is officially dead. Predict where this leads next. Will the FIA be forced to rewrite the TPC guidelines and impose strict financial caps on private track testing? Or has Toyota permanently altered how small teams survive in Formula One? What we are witnessing at Fuji Speedway is the strategic evolution of Formula One engineering. As the FIA tightens financial restrictions on front-running teams, victory no longer belongs solely to the constructor with the largest direct racing budget. Victory belongs to the organization that best integrates external industrial capacity, private infrastructure, and unauditable digital feedback loops. Toyota took a rulebook designed to limit testing and used it to unlock unlimited track time. They transformed an old F1 car and a private Japanese circuit into a data extraction engine that strengthens Haas's race operations while expanding Toyota's own technical footprint in elite open-wheel racing. The FIA can inspect the garage, examine the invoices, and check the engine seals, but they cannot stop the flow of operational knowledge and digital simulation refinement generated at Fuji. The exploit is active, the data is flowing, and the rest of the F1 grid is forced to watch from the outside. Head to the comments section right now and tell me if you think the FIA will step in to close the Fuji TPC loophole before next season. Or click the video on screen right now to dive deeper into how Toyota and Haas are quietly reshaping the Formula One grid.